Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Well, let me first of all say thank you for even having me here today. It is truly a privilege. I was raised in Martinsville. I was in Martinsville City until I was about 12 years old. Then we moved to LA, not Los Angeles. We moved to Lower Axton, which is... I see you've been there. So I spent the last few years before I went to college in Lower Axton. And in my high school years, when I was 14 years old, in fact, right before I started it was 30 years ago in July that God called me to full-time ministry. And I said yes. It was Isaiah 6, whom shall I send? And Isaiah said, Lord, here am I, send me. And God broke my heart for people. That's a little bit about me. As you can tell from my forehead that gets bigger every year and a little bit of gray here, there's a lot more to my story. But let me move on, tell you about how God has been calling me and taking me on a different journey the last several years. This journey began in part because of this fellow that you see here. In 2006, this guy reached out to me. It was around 2006. He reached out to me. He's a guy I went to high school with. After high school, he went into the military. He became a police officer in another part of Virginia and endured a lot. One of his fellow officers was shot and killed in a traffic stop. His best friend in the department got together with him and said, I think my marriage is over. And he's like, what are you talking about? You just got married. And he's like, look, my friend just told him, I'll see you after shift. We'll have a few drinks. It'll be fine. And a couple of hours later, my friend got a call that his buddy had gone home and shot himself while his wife was at home. That and other things that I won't get into just kind of send him over the edge. He struggled with PTSD for years, as badly as anyone I've ever met, struggling with that. And he just reached out to me for some support, to be a friend. And he was certainly getting help, counseling and things. That wasn't my role. My role was just to come alongside him as a friend, to love on him, to help him through some dark days. He wrote this book that you can see there, Served with Honor, Life Behind the Badge. But these officers, they deal, as sometimes they'll talk about 95% of the time, they deal with a very small percentage of the population that most of us don't want to deal with. And it's hard. I've learned that in every 3 years, they experience what the average citizen would experience only in a lifetime. They experience every 3 years a lifetime's worth of traumatic events. It takes a toll when you have these adrenaline rushes and crashes, when you work so hard to build a case and it's rock solid and you go to court and it's thrown out. It's frustrating. Ask them, why are you doing this? What brought you here? Almost every one of them, in one way or another, will say, I got into law enforcement to help people, to serve my community. I want to make a difference. I want to make a positive impact. Almost every officer that I've talked with that's been around for, say, about 3 years or more, almost all of them say they don't feel like they're making that difference. Somewhere around 3 years in, for many of them, they get so discouraged, they lose hope of feeling like they're making that positive difference. And you and I both know that they are. Amen? They make that difference.
155 police officers committed suicide last year.
He loved everything about being a police officer.
There were nightmares, sleepless nights of fear of doing things he used to enjoy.
And I know, living with him, that he was never able to let it go. It consumed him.
When you attend so many domestic violence runs as a police officer, and shootings, and so much trauma, I think you start to wear it. It gave me that negative energy that you don't realize what's happening when you're going through the years of layered trauma. It's a heaviness you can't bear on your own. So I went to the doctor and I told him about the pain and the issues. And he said, I'm just here to see if you're ready to go back to work. It's a yes or no.
Someone asked me once in an interview, what was growing up like? Where'd you go to school and what would you do if you weren't doing this? I'd be driving my first car in a worn-out Dodge, trying to make rent with a dead-end job, just making do. The tips in a jar, my guitar in an old bar stool. I'd have a Friday night crowd in the palm of my hand, cup of brown liquor, couple buddies in the band, singing them same damn songs like I am now. I'd be feeling on fire on a hardwood stage, bright lights like lightning running through my veins, at the Grand Ole Opry or a show in some no-name town. Still be doing this if I wasn't doing this. I'd still be the same guy they knew back in the day, who was burning CDs just to give away, paying his dues. If I wasn't doing this, 5 deep in a van, head full of steam, hot on the heels of my neon dreams, maybe coming true. Living this life just like I was born to do. I'd have a Friday night crowd in the palm of my hand, cup of brown liquor, couple buddies in a band, singing them same damn songs like I am now. I'd be feeling on fire on a hardwood stage, bright lights like lightning run through my veins, at the Grand Ole Opry or a show in some no-name town. Still be doing this if I wasn't doing this. It ain't about the fame, it ain't about the fortune, it ain't about the name, it ain't about the glory. I guess I'm saying it's always been about having a Friday night crowd in the palm of my hand, cup of brown liquor, couple buddies in the band, singing them same damn songs like I am now. I'd be feeling on fire on a hardwood stage, bright lights like lightning run through my veins, at the Grand Ole Opry or a show in some no-name town. Still be doing this if I wasn't doing this. Someone asked me once in an interview, what was growing up like? Where'd you go to school and what would you do if you weren't doing this? Sometimes circumstances makes a man turn out to be the way he is. Maybe his is not the life he chose, but it's the only one he gets.
when trouble comes across the path he travels, well, it was simply meant to be. And the only thing in life that's really cherished is the fact that he lives free. Freedom is the only thing that matters to a man who won't be tied. For him, a place to settle down will only be a place for him to die. Most will never understand why anyone would ever live like this. But you'd be better off to try and rope the wind than change the way he is. So it's a waste of time to try and make him live the way you think he should. Or you've never seen life through his eyes, or stood where he has stood. And what his life stands for is the only reason he cares to exist. And you'd be better off to try and rope the wind and change the way he is. Freedom is the only thing that matters to a man who won't be tied. For him, a place to settle down would only be a place for him to die. Most will never understand why anyone would ever live like this. But you'd be better off to try and rope the wind and change the way he is. You'd be better off to try and rope the wind and change the way he is.
Sick kids, dying kids. You're going to see kids that haven't had a decent meal in months. You'll have kids that hug onto your leg and they don't want to let go because they know exactly what's going to happen when you do. It sucks. And you wish you could save everybody, and then you very quickly realize that that's just not realistic. You can't. You're going to step inside houses that you would never go into while you're off duty, and you're going to see how truly nasty a lot of people live. You're going to see cockroaches crawling on babies that are drinking out of bottles that have lumpy milk in them. You're going to go into houses where people allow their pets to use the bathroom inside the house. Occasion that you're actually able to help and save one of these kids out of one of those houses, then you're going to have to fight the parents. I hope you guys aren't scared of dead bodies, because you'll have plenty of those too. Fresh bodies, rotten bodies, bodies with horrible expressions on their faces, and that's assuming they even have a fate. And on scenes where somebody shoots themselves with a shotgun, you're worried about stepping on blood, you're worried about stepping on brains, on bone. You might find somebody that hung themselves. They're going to leave a note, sometimes they don't. You'll get to the point where when you hear a death investigation come out over the radio, you're hoping that it's just some elderly person that passed away in their sleep or something.
And I would wake up at 3, 4 in the morning, and I couldn't go back to sleep. I'd wake up soaked in sweat. I would pace the house 3 in the morning. It was like I was almost afraid to go back to sleep for fear of getting back into that nightmare.
And they're going to thank you for your service. But guess what? The next call you go to, people are going to call you a pig. They're going to come to the earth, call you a tyrant, tax collector for the state. They're not going to have any idea what you just saw or what you just went through. But guess what? They don't care. You're a public servant. Your only job is to do what they say and to do it immediately. That's what they're going to expect from you. And they're going to be calling you a pig at the same time. They don't give a shit about you. They don't give a shit about your bad.
Coming forward to get help might be a sign of weakness, and that if I do that, I might be looked down upon by my peers or by my supervisors.
I've seen police officers get injured physically, and the support is always there. If you come down something that's psychological, that support doesn't exist.
About the dangers police officers face on the job each and every day, but one statistic stood out to us. A study putting the average officer's life expectancy at 57 years old. According to the CDC, that's about 22 years younger.
At least the way I approach it is just someone to try to be a pastor, provide pastoral care, if you will, to officers. You all sitting in this room are familiar with pastoral care. If you can think about it in those terms, that's more or less how I view chaplaincy. When I found out about the need, I went back to my friend. I talked with him. I said, "What do you think? I mean, I don't know if I should do this or not." And I've been volunteering in schools for years and years, with my wife being a teacher. And he just looked at me. He said, "You've got to do this." He said, "I didn't feel like I had anybody I could talk to." And at that time, his department at that time, at least in his view, was a little old school back then. You come to your supervisors with problems, and he's like, "That's just life, son. You got to suck it up. Tuck it back there somewhere." That didn't work. And he said, "Darren, would you please do this? If you only help one person, it's worth it, man."
Same God that spins things in orbit, runs to the weary, the worn and the weak, and the same gentle hands that hold me when I'm broken. They conquer death to bring me victory. Now I know my Redeemer lives. I know my Redeemer lives. Let all creation testify. Let this life within me cry. I know my Redeemer. He lives to take away my shame, and He lives forever. I'll proclaim that the payment for my sin was the precious life
Many people in Danville are calling him a hero, but an off-duty police officer says he was just doing his job when he saved a group of people from their burning home. News 13's Heather White has this and their story.
This is all that's left after an early morning fire ripped through an apartment home. Alarms inside were blaring, but no one heard them. But something outside caught a neighbor's attention.
She was down there washing clothes, and she happened to hear something or looked outside, and she seen the flames on the front porch, so she came on up and called the fire department.
Then came Chris Tillman, an off-duty police officer. He was on his way home, but for some reason, he took a different way. That's when he saw the flames.
The top of the porch was totally engulfed in flames by this time when I got there and saw the flames.
Woke up to my 5-year-old son screaming and hollering, "Daddy, Daddy, get up, the house is burning." And I heard a Danville City police officer coming through my door.
Officer Tillman helped 6 people to safety. Investigators say an upstairs porch light caused the blaze. Flames destroyed almost everything inside.
If that Danville City police officer was not coming around the corner at that time, we would be dead at this point. I owe my life and the lives of my children to that man.
It made me think of my own children. I saw this scene going down last night. And as far as a lot of things that I'm hearing, I've done what every police officer in this department would have done.
Reporting for Virginia's 13 in Danville, I'm Heather White.
Facing tempest